Marcus Thompson had worked at Lincoln Elementary for 15 years, and in all that time, no one could remember hearing him speak more than 10 words. He arrived every morning at 5:30, an hour before anyone else. Same routine, same path through the hallways, same methodical way of checking each classroom, each exit, each window. The teachers thought he was just thorough. The principal appreciated his dedication. The children barely noticed him at all. He was just the janitor who never talked. Mrs. Sarah Chun, third-grade teacher, tried for years to engage him in conversation. "Good morning, Marcus," she'd say cheerfully each day. He'd nod, maybe grunt, never more. After 5 years, she'd given up trying. The other custodial staff had learned to work around his silence. Hand gestures, nods, shoulder shrugs. Marcus communicated everything necessary without words. Some thought he was mute. Others assumed he was just antisocial. A few wondered if he'd suffered some trauma. They were right about the trauma, just not the kind they imagined. Every morning, Marcus walked the same pattern through Lincoln Elementary. But what looked like a janitor's routine was something else entirely. He wasn't just checking for trash or spills. He was running reconnaissance, counting steps between exits, noting blind spots, identifying cover positions, calculating response times. Old habits from 75th Ranger Regiment don't die. They just find new applications. The children called him Mr. M. When they called him anything at all, he was background noise to them, as invisible as the walls he cleaned. They ran past him in hallways, dropped candy wrappers he'd later collect, never knowing that the quiet man with the mop had once led missions in places whose names were still classified. But children see things adults miss. Little Emma Rodriguez, a second grader with pigtails and gaps in her teeth, noticed how Mr. M always positioned himself where he could see all the doors. How he never had his back to an entrance. How his eyes moved constantly, scanning, evaluating. "Why does Mr. M watch everything?" she asked her teacher once. "He's just making sure the school is clean, Mrs. Chun replied, not really paying attention. Emma wasn't convinced. She'd seen her uncle watch like that. Her uncle who'd come back from somewhere he couldn't talk about. It was a Tuesday morning in October when Marcus noticed the van. White, no windows in the back, circling the block for the third time. License plate muddy but deliberately so. He could see the clean edges where someone had carefully applied dirt to obscure the numbers. He set his mop aside and walked to the main office, knocked twice on Principal Johnson's door. "Marcus." Johnson looked up, surprised. The janitor never came to his office. "Everything all right?" Marcus pointed out the window at the van, now parking across the street. Then he held up 3 fingers, made a circling motion. 3 times around the block. Johnson frowned. Probably just someone lost, looking for parking. Marcus shook his head, pointed at the muddied license plate, then at his eyes, then at the doors of the school. "You think they're watching us?" A single firm nod. Johnson had worked with Marcus long enough to know the man didn't raise concerns lightly. In 15 years, this was the first time he'd come to the office about anything. "Should I call the police?" Marcus considered, then shook his head, pointed at Johnson, then at the school intercom, made a talking gesture with his hand, then pointed at the doors. "Lockdown drill. You want me to run a drill?" Nod. "Now." Emphatic nod. Something in Marcus's eyes, an intensity Johnson had never seen before, made him reach for the intercom button. "Attention Lincoln Elementary. We'll be conducting an unscheduled lockdown drill. Teachers, please follow standard procedures. This is a drill." Across the school, teachers began moving with practiced efficiency. Doors locked, blinds drawn. Children moved away from windows, sitting quietly in designated safe areas. They'd done this before. It was just another drill. But Marcus wasn't treating it like a drill. He moved through the hallways with purpose now, no longer the slow shuffle of a janitor, but the controlled movement of someone who'd cleared buildings in Baghdad and Kandahar. At each classroom, he checked the door, gave teachers a thumbs up, moved on. The van doors opened. 3 men stepped out. Baseball caps pulled low. Jackets too heavy for the October weather. The way they moved, spreading out, checking angles, sent every alarm in Marcus's head screaming. He pulled out his phone, typed a message to Principal Johnson, not a drill. Call 911. Stay locked. Then he did something he hadn't done in 15 years. He spoke, but not to anyone in the school. He dialed a number from memory, one he'd never thought he'd use again. Ranger 7-1 actual, he said, his voice rough from disuse. Lincoln Elementary, Madison in 3rd. 3 tangos approaching. Possible active shooter scenario. How copy? The voice on the other end didn't hesitate. Solid copy, 7-1. QRF spinning up. ETA 8 minutes. Can you hold? Roger. We'll hold. Marcus ended the call and moved to the main entrance. His janitor's closet was nearby, the same closet where he'd stored more than just cleaning supplies. Behind the bottles of bleach and boxes of paper towels was a small safe. Inside, a Glock 19, 2 magazines, and a small trauma kit. Tools he'd hoped never to need again. But Rangers prepare for the worst, even in retirement. The front door was reinforced glass. Marcus could see the 3 men approaching, trying to look casual, but failing. Their hands hovering near concealed weapons. Their formation tactical. These weren't random criminals or angry parents. These were professionals. Marcus sent another text to Johnson. Keep everyone locked down. Help coming. 8 minutes. Then he stepped into view of the front door, mop in hand, playing the part of an oblivious janitor. One of the men spotted him, said something to the others. They relaxed slightly. Just a janitor. No threat. They had no idea. The lead man tried the door. Locked, as all doors were during school hours. He knocked, smiled, held up a clipboard. The universal prop of someone trying to look official. Marcus shuffled over, still playing his role. Pointed at the intercom button outside. The man pressed it. Delivery for the main office, he said. Marcus shook his head, pointed at his ears, shrugged. Sorry, can't hear you. The intercom was broken, had been for months. The school kept meaning to fix it. The man's smile faded. He knocked harder, pointed at the door lock. Marcus shook his head again, held up his hands. Can't help you. Don't have keys. Just a janitor. That's when he saw it. The subtle shift in stance. The hand moving toward the concealed weapon. They were done playing. Marcus had maybe 2 seconds before they realized the glass wouldn't stop bullets. 2 seconds to act. He didn't need that long. The mop handle was hardwood, solid oak. In Marcus's hands, it became a weapon. He spun it like a staff, using the metal end to hit the door's emergency lock. The one that would trigger a full security alert and lock down every external door with electromagnetic locks. The alarm started blaring. Every door in the school sealed with a distinctive click. The 3 men outside realized their easy entry had just become impossible. The lead man drew his weapon, aimed at Marcus through the glass. That's when Mrs. Chun, who'd been watching from her classroom's door window, saw something that would stay with her forever. The silent janitor she'd known for 15 years moved like water. Fluid, fast, purposeful. He rolled behind a concrete pillar as the first shots shattered the glass door. Active shooter. Marcus's voice boomed through the hallways. Stay locked down. Rangers incoming. It was the most anyone had heard him speak. Ever. The 3 men were inside now, glass crunching under their boots. They split up, a tactical mistake. Together, they had overlapping fields of fire. Apart, they were vulnerable. Marcus knew this building better than his own home. Every blind spot, every angle, every place where footsteps echoed and where they didn't. He'd spent 15 years learning it, preparing for exactly this moment without even realizing it. The first man headed toward the kindergarten wing. Marcus intercepted him at the T-junction, using a technique he'd perfected in Fallujah. The mop handle swept the man's weapon aside as Marcus closed distance. A ranger doesn't need a gun to be lethal. The man went down hard, unconscious before he hit the floor. 1 down, 2 to go. 6 minutes until help arrived. The second man heard the commotion, came running. He rounded the corner to find Marcus standing over his unconscious partner. The gunman raised his weapon, but Marcus was already moving. A fire extinguisher from the wall became a projectile, then a cloud of chemical spray. In the confusion, Marcus closed the gap. This one was tougher, trained. They grappled, fought for control of the weapon. But Marcus had something the gunman didn't: 15 years of visualizing every possible threat in these hallways. He knew exactly where they were, exactly what was behind him. When he drove the man backward, it was into a door frame. The impact was enough. 2 down. 1 to go. For minutes. The third man was smarter. He'd heard the fights, knew his partners were down. He was moving carefully now, weapon up, checking corners. Moving toward the main office where he could see movement through the window. Principal Johnson, despite Marcus's warnings, peeking out. Marcus couldn't get there in time. Not directly. But he knew these hallways. He moved through the parallel corridor, the one that connected to the office through the nurse's station. His footsteps were silent. Another skill that never left. Room clearing was muscle memory, even after 15 years of mopping floors. The gunman was focused on the office door, demanding entry. Johnson, terrified but brave, was refusing. The man raised his weapon, aimed at the door lock. "Rangers lead the way," Marcus said quietly from behind him. The man spun, but it was too late. Marcus had already closed the distance. The weapon went flying. The fight was brief, brutal, efficient. When it ended, the third man was on the ground, zip-tied with the flex cuffs Marcus had taken from the first attacker. 3 down. 2 minutes until help arrived. But Marcus could already hear the sirens. He looked up to see faces in every window. Teachers, students, all staring at their silent janitor who'd just taken down 3 armed men without firing a shot. "Mrs. Chen was crying. Principal Johnson stood frozen in his doorway. Little Emma Rodriguez was pressed against her classroom window, no longer scared but awed. She'd been right. Mr. M did watch like her uncle. Marcus looked at all of them, then did something unprecedented. He smiled, just a small one, barely visible. Then he pointed at the doors, made a staying motion. "Keep locked down. Not clear yet." He retrieved his phone, dialed the same number. Ranger 7 to 1 actual. 3 tangos down. School secure. Green on all friendlies. Outstanding 7 to 1. Local LEOs 2 minutes out. Rangers 3 minutes behind. "You good?" Marcus looked down at his hands. Steady as rocks. Looked at the 3 men on the ground. Secure. Looked at the faces in the windows. "Safe." "Yeah," he said. "I'm good." It was the second time most of them had heard him speak. The police arrived in force. SWAT patrol units, ambulances. They swept the building, confirmed what Marcus already knew: no other threats. The 3 men were professionals, but not terrorists. Later investigation would reveal they were a kidnapping crew, targeting the daughter of a tech executive who attended Lincoln Elementary. They'd picked the wrong school. As the police took statements and processed the scene, a black SUV pulled up. 3 men got out, moving with the same controlled precision Marcus had shown. They wore civilian clothes, but Marcus recognized them instantly. Rangers. His old unit had come. The lead man, Master Sergeant Williams, walked up to Marcus and, without a word, pulled him into an embrace. "Hell of a thing, Marcus," Williams said. 15 years of silence, and you break it for this." Marcus shrugged. "Had to. Kids were in danger. You could have just called 911. Response time averaged 12 minutes. I had 3. Marcus's voice was still rough, uncertain from disuse. "Rangers don't wait for backup when kids are on the line." Williams nodded. "SUA spont," he said, "of their own accord. The Ranger motto. SUA spont." Marcus repeated. The story exploded across news channels. Silent janitor saves school. Army Ranger hidden in plain sight. The quietest hero. Reporters descended on Lincoln Elementary, all wanting to interview Marcus Thompson, the janitor who hadn't spoken in 15 years until the day he saved 400 children. Marcus declined them all, but he did speak to the school assembly the next week, standing awkwardly at the microphone, looking at hundreds of young faces. "I don't talk much," he began, his voice still rough. "Never saw the need. But I want you to know something. You were never in danger. Not really. Because I was here. Because your teachers were here. Because we all watch out for you, even when you don't know it." He paused, looked at Emma Rodriguez in the second row. "Some of you noticed I watch everything. Smart kids. Keep being smart. Keep watching. Keep caring about each other. That's how we stay safe." He started to step away, then came back to the microphone. And if you see something wrong, say something. Don't wait 15 years like I did. A few chuckles from the teachers. Then applause. Then a standing ovation from 400 children and dozens of staff for the janitor who'd protected them all along. Mrs. Chen approached him afterward. Will you keep talking now? Marcus considered. When necessary. What about good morning? He almost smiled. Maybe. We'll see. The next morning, Marcus Thompson arrived at 5:30, same as always. Same routine. Same path through the hallways. But when Mrs. Chen arrived an hour later, he was waiting by her classroom. Good morning, Sarah, he said. She nearly dropped her coffee. Good morning, Marcus. He nodded and walked away, returning to his rounds. But things were different now. He still didn't speak much. That wasn't his nature. But when he did, people listened. When new security measures were discussed, his input was sought and valued. When teachers had concerns, they brought them to Marcus. The children no longer ran past him unseeing. They waved, called out, "Hi, Mr. M." Some of the braver ones even got high fives. Little Emma Rodriguez had taken to saluting him each morning, which he returned with military precision, making her giggle. 3 months later, a package arrived for Marcus. Inside was a plaque from the 75th Ranger Regiment for Ranger Marcus Thompson, who never forgot his UA spot. He hung it in his janitor's closet, next to the mops and cleaning supplies. Most people would never see it. That was fine. Marcus didn't need recognition. He'd done what Rangers do, protected those who couldn't protect themselves. But Principal Johnson had one more surprise. At the end of the school year, he called Marcus to the office. We're creating a new position, Johnson said. Director of School Security. Same hours as you work now. You can still help with maintenance if you want. But we need someone who sees things others miss. Someone who's always watching. What do you say? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, can I keep my janitor's closet? Of course. Then yes. That fall, Lincoln Elementary had the quietest security director in the state. He didn't carry a radio, preferred to walk the halls. Didn't wear a uniform, kept his janitor's clothes. Didn't talk much, but when he did, everyone from the principal to the kindergartners listened. And every morning, without fail, he greeted Mrs. Chun. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Marcus. Some heroes announce themselves with fanfare. Others speak softly and carry a mop. At Lincoln Elementary, they'd learned which kind kept them safer. The silent janitor still watched everything, still noticed things others missed, still walked his patterns through the hallways. But now everyone knew why, and they were grateful for it. Because sometimes the best guardian is the one you never notice until the moment you need them most. And when that moment came for Lincoln Elementary, their silent protector had been ready. Rangers lead the way, even when that way is down a school hallway, mop in hand, watching over children who never knew they had a guardian angel in a janitor's uniform, until the day they did.